To become a great fighter in Fortnite, it feels like you need to either have insanely fast mechanics or incredible aim, but I'm here to say that you can become a great fighter without either of those. The third aspect of fighting that's even more important than your mechanics, your aim, is your fighting IQ. And if you can master the concepts I talk about in this video, you'll be able to fight on the same level as any pro. The first key to fighting smarter in Fortnite is predicting your opponents. Predicting your opponents is extremely important because it enables you to make proactive plays that can give you an advantage rather than relying on sheer aim or mechanics to get something done. The most common application of prediction in fighting is pre-piece. Pre-piece requires a high level of situational awareness and tracking your opponents through the builds. You need to watch them and see exactly what they're doing so that you can be one step ahead of them. In this clip, you can see I start off by chopping him out. I anticipate that he'll try and build a wall in front of him to connect and protect himself, so I place my own wall and edit it into the floor so that he can't build there. I get good initial damage there, and after I chop him again, I know he'll have to turn around to connect himself to those old builds, which gives me the perfect opportunity to snatch a wall by looking straight up while he's looking the other way. Now that the wall is all mine, all I have to do is edit through it to get off a shot on him, and while unfortunately I miss my edit a couple times, I'm still able to finish off the elim. The next facet of predicting your opponent is knowing behavioral patterns. There are certain things that most players will do in certain situations that you should learn. For example, in this clip, I pokeball the player by putting him inside the cone by placing a cone under the floor. Since I know he has no other options, I place the wall in front of me and edit it so that he can't place it, and once he edits down, I shoot him. Another example of reading players is when you slide a ramp in. If you look at their body language, oftentimes you can anticipate which way out of the box they're going to. If it's to the left or right, you can place two cones in a wall, and if it's down, you can place a wall and a cone to catch them. Predicting your opponent isn't only trying to read where he'll go and trying to pre-piece him though. You can also use things like knowing when he's going to pickaxe swing on your wall. If you know that he has his pickaxe out and is going to come and swing on your wall, then you can just edit it open and shoot him since there's no risk of him shooting you back. Just make sure you have something in your box so that he can't place a ramp in your face. A different example would be knowing when he'll have his builds out. If he's standing on your wall and you see that he has his builds out, like he's going to place a ramp in your box when you open your wall, you can quickly place a cone in your box and then open it so that he's caught with his builds out and you'll have a free shot. Or if you want to trick him even further, you can run forward as he edits so that when the ramp places, you're standing on top of it. Another way you can use predictions in fights are with pre-fires. Anytime you know your opponent is going to break a wall, you can go for a pre-fire. While a normal pre-fire can sometimes leave you vulnerable if they take your wall, instead try to set up a right-hand peek and pre-fire from there so that even if they take your wall, there's no risk. Another way you can predict your opponent is by trying to gauge how many builds they have. This is mostly prevalent off-spawn, but if you are off-spawn and you see someone build a metal wall, it is likely that they only have 2 builds left since metal comes out of chests in stacks of 3, and it's the last map that it auto switches you to. If you want to outsmart your opponent and beat them in a fight, one of your greatest tools are peeks. Peeks allow you to deal damage without taking any in return, and having a good understanding of them is absolutely necessary if you want to be a good smart fighter. The first thing you need to learn to be a good peeker is how to swing with your peeks correctly. If you use your movement to stay behind cover, you can make most edits into a good peek. It's also important that even quote-unquote good edits can be bad if you don't move correctly with them. Also, it's important to note that your character is a little bit behind where it looks like you are on your screen, so even if you're completely out of the way on your screen, you could still be visible to your opponent if you haven't waited long enough. The next part of peeking is gun swap delay. Gun swap delay is the time it takes to swap between your blueprints and your gun, or the time between 2 shots of your shotgun. After you shoot your gun, even if you take out your builds and your gun again, there's still a delay once you take out your gun to shoot. You can take advantage of this by making wide edits on someone if you know they've already shot, allowing you to hit an easy shot without really having to peek since there's no danger of them returning a shot. The last and most advanced concept that you have to keep in mind is peeker's advantage. In Fortnite, because of the desync or delay I mentioned earlier, whoever peeks first gets to shoot first since your opponent appears on your screen first. This applies even if it's a left-hand peek. As you can see in this video Billy Bicep made a while back, the person running around the corner has an easy first shot even though they're taking a left hand. While this won't give you a free shot since it will still be traded, it will give you the first shot, meaning if they're 1 pump away from death, you will kill them and not get traded the damage, or if you both have max HP, you'll shoot first, so if you both deal an even amount of damage with your shotguns and then both swap to your SMGs, you'll still be shooting first, so you'll kill them first and win the trade every single time. The next way you can outplay your opponents by outsmarting them is by baiting them. The core of bait is making your opponent think you're doing something and then doing something else. The most simple yet easy way to bait your opponent is with an edit reset. Edit resetting is when you edit open your wall on someone and then reset right before they shoot. That way you can bait out their shot and get a free shot on them. Another way you can easily bait out your opponents is by faking out where you're going with your builds. For example, if they can't see you directly, you can run ramps and cones to one side so that they think you're going to one spot, and then you can catch them off guard by going somewhere somewhere else. This could give you an opportunity at a shot or a piece that could end up getting you a shot. One niche use case is when a wall is super low. They'll think you're trying to break it to exploit in and will try pre-firing you. Instead of doing that though, you can wait just half a second and then shoot. If they try pre-firing you, you'll get the shot on them instead, and if they don't go for a pre-fire, you can just replace the wall that you've broken with your pump. Just like you can fake people out with builds, the same applies to edits. You can pretend to edit one wall and then edit out on them in another, and they might be looking the wrong way so you can get a free shot. You can combine this with peeking. If you have two walls on someone, you can edit a right hand with one wall, and while they're still busy looking at that, you can go to the other wall and edit it open to get a shot on them. You can also do things like pretending to pop heals and then editing open. Another way to use heals to bait your opponent is if you have high HP but pretend to pop a heal. For example, if you have 149 HP and start popping a mini, your opponent might start to jump in on you if he thinks you're low. You can use this and kill him once he jumps in. Another example of this would be pretending to pop a medkit when you're 99 white HP and 100 shield. One bait play I like to use is something I originally saw from Martaz. Basically, you build a box that you pretend you're in while you wait on the outside, and when the person comes to smack on your wall, you surprise them by being on the outside of the box. The last bait play, while it might sound ridiculous, is to pretend to fight. If you shoot the ground and build some, you can bait out some opponents to come to you and then get some free initial damage on them. The next sign of a smart fighter is when they take control and take advantage of the pacing of a fight. When you fight someone, you should immediately start picking up on their habits and tendencies. For example, if you smack on someone's wall and they instantly edit, you can assume that they're going to do that again. Conversely, if you're the one holding your wall and they smack their pickaxe twice in a row on your wall, you can anticipate that they'll do that again and open an edit on them to get a shot off when they do. If you notice that your opponent is clearly more comfortable being in a fast-paced type of engagement, try to play to his weakness and make a couple boxes and play safe and defensive. On the other end of the spectrum, if you notice they're playing super scared, it's less likely that they'll make a confrontational play, which makes it easier for you to use calculated risks to be more aggressive. The other side to this is playing to your advantages and your strengths. If you think you're a good box fighter, then instead of trying to play their game and build fight them, play how you want to. Or alternatively, if you're confident you have incredible aim and they're playing super slow, jump in and max pump them. The last method that you can use to outplay your opponents in fights is by learning all of the exploits. I have a dedicated video about every possible exploit you can do, and I'll link that below. The easiest way to practice them is by going into this map here. In this map, you can practice getting in with every weapon available without having to have a friend hold the wall for you. Exploits can mainly be categorized into two main subcategories: momentum exploits and build piece exploits. Build piece exploits are the type of exploits that need to be set up by either placing or editing some builds. This would include things like jumping into your ramp or walking into an edited floor. These are good because they will consistently get you through the wall, but the downside is that they're super predictable. The second someone sees you place that ramp, they're aware of what you're trying to do. On the other side though, momentum exploits are extremely powerful and useful. While they are much harder to do consistently, they're also much harder to predict, and if perfected, they are really easy to use to get some kills. Another part of exploiting is making sure that you are constantly through floors like this are super important to have in your arsenal. Another tech you should know already is dash exploiting into boxes. Using all of these strategies, I hope you can learn to beat players even if they have better aim and faster mechanics than you. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check these two out and subscribe to All Watchers. Bye!